Thanks for joining us on Coast to Coast Pest Talk.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Coast Pest Talk. I'm your host, Gabe, with Pest Patrol, joined here by Andy Sinevsky with Permatech Pest Management out of Syracuse, New York. And today we're going to be discussing team meetings. What about team meetings, Andy?
Yeah, I don't know. What about me? Everybody loves meetings, right?
Yes. And the longer the meeting, the better.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one of the ones that make people cringe. They hear meeting and it's like, oh my God, what are we doing? So, do you guys do regular meetings?
Yeah, so we do regular meetings once a week, and then we have kind of like a more informal team breakfast meetings we try and do a couple times a month.
Yeah.
But everything's remote for us. So we do regular, basically Zoom. It's not actually Zoom, it's some other video software, Google Meets or something, once a week on Tuesdays.
Okay.
What about you guys?
Yeah, we do. We've done meetings for a while now, and here's what I wonder about this, because I think that for a lot of folks, they kind of dread meetings, and I think that most of the time people find out that they need to do meetings way after when it would have been useful to do meetings.
Yep.
So when did you first feel like, geez, we need to start meeting?
I would say probably about a year ago. So we're 3 years in now. About a
Okay.
year ago, when I had 2 full-time guys regularly that were out in the field, and I started feeling that like, okay, it's not just me and another guy now. Like I'm somewhat pulling back to focus on some other things, and I have another full-time tech out, and I need to be able to keep tabs on them. And I didn't really implement it until, just a couple months ago when you and I had the conversation about it. So
Yeah. So what did you sense was lacking? Was there like a moment that you're like, oh, geez, we really gotta get together?
I don't think there was like a specific moment, but probably a group of kind of reoccurring, whether just like all sorts of random things like, oh shoot, we ran out of this product on the truck because we just weren't communicating, right? We had this big account coming up, and we didn't order bait stations for it, like that type of, where we had more moving parts and we just weren't doing a good job of communicating.
Yeah.
So I would say those are the main kind of types of issues where you're having to like scramble to fix an issue that could have just been solved in like a 10-minute meeting.
And that was when you had 3, you and 2 others?
How
many people?
I keep kicking my camera here. Sorry.
Yes.
I guess the podcasters can't see it. So that was when I had 2 full-time techs out in the field, and then myself. Yeah. And I
Okay.
think we probably started feeling it the most at the beginning of this year, 2023, when I hired the office manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then we had that second admin side, and yeah.
So before that, you were answering the phones?
Yeah. So I was the
Yeah.
hub.
Okay. And then you disseminate out to all your staff.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now our office manager really is the hub.
Yeah.
Calls come in, she handles all the scheduling and that type of thing and routing. So
Okay. So if I could wrap my head around that, then so you were kind of okay as the hub and going out to the spokes of all whoever you had on staff. As
Yep.
soon as you had another person in that answering the phones, routing, scheduling jobs, and you're outside of that, is that the moment that it was like, yes, we definitely have to have a meeting?
Yeah, because that would have been 10 months ago. We hired her January 1st. So I think that was kind of the big impetus for feeling that, sort of almost a lack of control, right? You feel like you're in control. And like, that was the first time I think in the company so far that I've been like, oh no, we really need to, get our act together.
So it's funny. A lot of times I'll use an analogy for as you grow your little business. Like you're building a little go-kart. And I've probably told you this one before, but like when you first start out, it's like a big wheel, right? And you got a tricycle and you're just like a 3-year-old in the driveway and you're riding that big wheel and you're like, yeah, man, this is awesome. And then you graduate up to like a go-kart and you got a little gas engine and you're kind of going. And then you get like a race car and then like a Formula One race car. So like at each level of the company, like when you start out one-man operation in your big wheel, like you can crash that thing and it just like tips over. You cry for a second and your mom flips the big wheel back over. You hop back on. But like when you're like, oh, geez, I'm a Formula One race car driver now with, a $10 million company and if the tire comes off the thing, people die, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was probably like you're getting off your big wheel and you're getting into like a go-kart or a
That's
big
right.
boy bicycle, take the training wheels off. And all of a sudden now this thing's got to like go. And the speed is increasing. I feel like that's a lot smaller of a point in a company to require meetings than I think most people would expect.
Yeah.
I mean, from my experience, it's like a lot of people will get shockingly large before they implement sort of regular check-in and update types of meetings.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, go ahead.
Well, my question is that there's probably a lot of factors as to why that is, why people wait longer. But I think for me, I felt like my customer was going to I knew my customer satisfaction was going to go down if I didn't shift something, and that my team morale was going to go down.
So do you think it had? Do you think that there was any actual evidence that your customers noticed anything or your team were worried, or were you more? I just did the Bill Clinton point. Did you see that?
No, what
No,
is that?
I forget that. Oh my God. Yeah, I forget that you're not old enough
Are you
to
holding a
have,
fork or
have
something?
been around. Yeah, Bill Clinton used to like point with like his thumb, like you, because you're not supposed to point as a politician,
That's
right?
Yeah.
And so he'd do
What,
this
like
thing.
multiple
Yeah, he'd like make a
fingers?
sort of a fist and kind of point with his thumb. I forget that you're not old enough to remember Bill Clinton being in office.
Is that like a Donald Trump point? Is that?
Yeah, there you go, kind of. Okay, sorry, my ancientness aside.
Is George Clinton? Was he after George Washington or?
Well, George Clinton, I think, was a musician. I think Bill Clinton was the president.
Golly. I was getting Bill Clinton and George Washington mixed up here.
You were. Okay. So do you think that you were feeling it as like you were seeing a little one step ahead and feeling it, or do you think like your staff had kind of noticed you needed to do something?
That's a good question. I don't know. We didn't have any sort of like outside indicators, reviews. Our reviews have always been really strong. We kept having really strong reviews that whole season. And I think in certain aspects, having an office manager really increased the level of care and attention that my customers were able to get, versus me doing it, because I was, in a lot of respects, doing kind of a crappy job because I was wearing 50 hats, right? So I was out in the field close to full time. I was trying to field all the calls, doing all the routing. And then we hired a full-time person to be able to just take all that. So
is there a chance that your full-time person on the phone was doing actually a better job responding to the customers faster, getting the information that needed to be getting into the notes,
100%.
Getting it to the technicians? The technicians were being taken care of sort of better. They're getting more attention paid. They have somebody they could call if, hey, did this reschedule? What happened here? And it's not you in a
somebody
crawl
who's
space.
not under a crawl
Yeah,
space.
somebody's not under a house, like the Wicked Witch of the West or something. Oh my God. So then at that point, it's really your like anxiety, like worried that you're not in control of something that led to that need.
Yeah. And that's, and probably an overestimation of my ability of what I was doing before. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Where you think you're like, I was in control and I had everything covered. And there is an aspect where as the owner, you're just able to be more fluid, right?
Yeah.
But I think probably there was an aspect where I felt like I was in control. This other person, my office manager, she was absolutely crushing it now.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in control doing
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
so it was scary.
So I've noticed something, and I've been told this a bunch. And fortunately, my wife doesn't listen to this, so I can say these things. When we
I'm
sort
sending
of
this episode to
you're
her.
gonna link her, right? Yeah, I guess send her a link to this. So no, because I'm gonna say she's right. Actually, I should make her listen
Okay.
to this. So as we moved along and grew. I had the same sort of sensation, right? Like, so you start to let go of things and delegate things, and then you're just kind of like assuming that they go okay, and you check up on them, but you're not really in control of them. But one of the things that I have recognized a lot more last couple of years is that there's a lot of stuff that I thought I was better at than I actually am
Wow.
in
Yeah.
in telling people things and delegating things. And one of the problems that I always had would be, and my wife actually said this to me like 2 days ago, is being as explicit as possible and definitive on what you want to have done, and not assuming that people are going to just get it on their own.
Mm.
And our office staff and our dispatch people and customer service people and whatever are so much better because every day that's what their job is. They're collecting information from a client. They're putting it onto the work orders. They're making sure the jobs go and people know that they pay and all these things. And every time I get involved with it, it's kind of a mess. I'll get it done and it'll happen, but it's not going to be as good as the people that do this every single day. I may feel better about it because I feel like I have my hand on it and I can be like, I'm driving the big wheel again and I'm steering. But really,
That's
it's like,
so
no.
right.
Give this to
Oh,
the race car
man.
drivers. They know how to drive those cars.
You're right.
It's just-
I was after our AR conversation with you guys last week.
Yeah.
I did a kind of a recap later that afternoon with our office gal, and she was like, earlier that day I'd gotten a call from, because I do a lot of sales,
Yeah.
and so I end up handling a lot of the early stages of the accounts and stuff still. And I had an account that really should have been passed off to Donna already. And he called me for service, and I was like, so I'm pulling up the system and looking in there, which I like totally shouldn't be doing because
Yeah.
like I don't do the scheduling. And
Yeah.
so, and I'm like, yeah, we could probably, we can get you in on Saturday. And I schedule him and I send it to Donna. And she, when we're doing our AR recap, she's like, will you just tell them to call me, please?
You got in trouble? Oh my
I'm
God.
like, I'm sorry. I know. Oh, it's just so bad. But that's what I think exactly
Yeah.
what you're saying.
I'm not allowed to touch the schedule. Like if I'm seen touching the schedule, like somebody stops me, they come over and they're like, no, you need to go do something else.
Andy's intervening. Go get him.
That's right. I get in trouble. I'll get it every time you touch the schedule. You ruin all our plans. Like, get out of here. Yeah. No, it's great because like that sort of thing sort of protects your time to do the things where you should be working and
Yeah.
not getting involved with that. Some of those things, it's kind of the competency trap. We're like, oh, I could be good at doing this thing, and so you kind of do that thing when you've already delegated it and let it go. So moving to meetings to sort of ease your own anxiety and make sure you're communicating all the things you want to see happening is really the impetus that moved you into, having regular
Yeah.
get-togethers.
Totally. I think so. And it's been awesome. I mean, we're only 2.5 months in right now, and just the same pageness,
Yeah.
the togetherness and unity of vision now. We've been able to solve a lot of problem accounts much more easily, and we've made a bunch of shifts now in pricing and service types and how restructuring how we're doing things because we've just been talking more.
Yeah. So how much does your staff get involved with the meeting? Is it like you reciting a bunch of stuff at them, or do they pipe up? Like, how much involvement do they have?
I think they're still getting used to it more. But I try and have, specific, um, like each talking point I have kind of delegated to a person
Oh, okay.
and to kind of lead. Um,
Oh, neat.
so like if we have a trouble account and the last person that was out there was, Sam, one of my techs, then he leads. I say, hey Sam, would you kind of give us an update on this trouble account? And he'll walk us through, and that'll usually give time for more of a discussion. But I mean, I'm definitely, those are just the 30-minute meetings, so
Yeah,
I'm driving that train like
sure.
nobody's business.
Get everybody out of there in a quick half
Yep.
hour, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're learning how to do that.
Yeah. So you said it's been how long that you've been doing?
Like 2 months, 2.5 months.
Okay.
We
And
started. No, gosh, it hasn't even been that. We started in September, so it's been a month.
okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, a month and a third now.
Okay. And you're already feeling better about what it's doing for you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
been great.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so you do these once a week, and you do them over Zoom or
Yep.
Google Meets or whatever, some
Yeah,
video
yeah.
chat thing. Yeah. Okay. Has there been any problems with that? Like, does the technology hinder you at all? Do you feel like you get enough engagement over?
I think so, but
Yeah.
we'll see long term. Yeah, I'm not sure. And
Yeah.
and like you and I have talked about, discussing kind of the in-person meetings and remote stuff. I do think long term my vision and my desire is to have more in-person meetings, especially as we grow and have like an actual office space and that type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, we've been doing we do a weekly meeting every Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock. We review, any headlines of what's going on, and we actually share progress numbers every week. And I was hoping, and it's actually kind of come to fruition, that people would notice like why we're sharing these numbers and kind of take ownership of them. And I explain what they are. So we'll look at like how many jobs we performed and our growth rate for that last week and our projected finishing number, our accounts receivables, our aging receivables, and a number of metrics that we share with everybody. And they actually like when we print it out, and we give everybody like an agenda, and it has our goal numbers, and if we have hit the number, it's in green, and if we missed it, it's in red. And so we have like a little celebration each time we're like all green. If we can get a green sweep, everybody's like, yeah, all right. And then sometimes we'll have like one red or two reds, and we're like, so close. And we've had weeks where you're like, all of them are red. And and then we're like, okay, we need to talk about, okay, why is this the case? And we'll
Yep.
have a brief little thing on each one of the metrics that we have, like 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 8 metrics that we follow every week that we report on. But that's been good. As we've had new people come in, they're kind of surprised with how open we are about the numbers with the whole
Right.
staff.
Yep.
Do you share like that, like some of those like P&L type numbers, or?
I don't get super into details P&Ls wise, but all the numbers you just said, all
Sure.
that stuff we use, and my vision is to long term have how I've done it traditionally in like my other businesses is that basically our management team all had full transparency all the way through the P&Ls, basically from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And then everything below that was sort of filtered through some other reports and stuff that we'd send out. But so that's my vision as well, that sort of the management team and then the admin team and executive team will all have full transparency of P&Ls.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So this is once a week. Do you do a daily meetup with anybody? No, each
Nope.
day. Yeah, okay. What day of the week do you do your meeting?
Tuesdays, 7:30.
Hey, look at that. All
Yeah.
right. Go Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pick Tuesdays because Monday you always are like putting out fires and things are happening. Fridays you're like, okay, we're almost there, man. It's almost the weekend. Yeah, it felt like Tuesday was sort of on the front portion of the week.
Right.
If we generated any like action items out of the meeting, like okay, we have to get this thing done like right away. It gives you like the whole rest of the week
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, totally. Yep. That's exactly same rationale for us. I felt like if we're going to be kind of looking forward towards what things are needed this week or whatever, that it needs to be kind of on the front end. You guys do like kind of a daily huddle though, right? At the beginning of each day.
We do. We pretty much the tech department gets in. People in the tech department get in usually around 8 o'clock, and it gives everybody a chance. We have sort of like a general like big classroom tech room, where we do our training and stuff. Everybody kind of piles in there and they're drinking coffee, eating donuts, doing whatever, and everybody's talking about their day. What do you got today? What do you got? Oh, you're going to this place, that place, whatever. So it's sort of an informal meetup in the morning, depending on what everybody's got. If there's anything that we need to mention, we'll grab a guy and be like, hey, you got this today, and remember this thing, or you got to grab a new ILT for that account or whatever. So we'll do that every day. Tuesday is the formal one, and we were like you when we were 2.5 people, 3 people was right where we start. I felt the same thing. I was like, oh my God, we got to meet. And our meetings early on was like, it was horrible. It was like a giant failure. Like it was terrible.
Do
Like,
tell.
yeah. You want to hear that, don't you? So we had meetings. I think we were 3 people, and I was like, I felt like it was starting to slip out of my grip a little bit. I was like, okay, I'm not sure. I gotta talk to the guys more often, and so I did an every single day. I tried to do an every single day like meeting. Like we're gonna sit down and like 8 o'clock every day. We're gonna meet for 10 or 15 minutes. And I was way too ambitious because I was like, okay, we're gonna do. Here's a review of yesterday. Here's what's happening today. Here's what we need to do, and here's a little training tidbit, technical training to every day. And I'm like, I was
Wow.
like way off the rails, and that lasted about, I don't know, 2 months, and there was a full on revolt. No one wanted to do that at all, and so we stopped doing that. But it was the same sort of sense you were feeling, as you get to that. I think 3 people, it starts to you feel that, and you're probably more sensitive to it. Not you, but just like the owner, founder, whatever. You're probably more sensitive to that. Like as you add people, like, oh boy, this is starting to get a little interesting here. But I feel like where we are now, we absolutely have to meet.
Totally. My title is Lord Founder. So if you could.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's subtle. That's good.
Founder. I'm like, it's so funny that you have used the term founder. Like it has never crossed my mind ever in my life to call myself a founder. So I just
wow.
stick to owner.
Owner. That's good for you.
Or or Lord Founder. Whatever.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind next time. Oh,
Monarch,
Yeah, for sure. Do you have an agenda that you use? Do you hand out an agenda? Do you
for the team meetings? Yeah.
Yeah.
I use the agenda that you sent me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So it
Very
lives in my team meeting binder. Look at
Awesome.
that. Team meeting
Oh
notes.
yeah, nice marker.
Really good. Very professional.
Like Sharpie's awesome.
Yep.
Yep.
And so I printed off on Monday. I go through, I make all of the agenda, I email it and text it to the guys, and then I just keep a printout, go through the list. I handwrite anything. And my old weeks one usually just is chock full of notes as I'm like making the new one as well, because it's like my scratch paper that I have.
Yep.
And then it just rolls forward. But yeah, I literally use
Awesome.
basically the exact same sheet that you sent me.
Yeah, and that one for people listening is basically a modified EOS
Yeah. Right.
meeting agenda. It's basically the same sort of EOS, and that's an entrepreneurial operating system from the book Traction, Gino Wickman, and I modified it for what we end up needing for our meetings. One of the things that I thought was cool is I have the same sort of binder, and I have like a year and a half worth of meeting agendas in there, and to go and flip back, you feel like an archaeologist, and you'll go back in time and you'll see like, wow, a year ago, what were we talking about?
Yeah.
Like what were the things? And one of the things that's really cool about that is that it's like leaving breadcrumbs on a path, and now you can follow it back, because it's hard to know that you've made progress. Like it's like you're kind of like on the ocean and you're just traveling. And if you don't drop a line or a buoy to be like, okay, this marks this place, and now you've moved from it and you can see that, it's really hard to feel progress.
Yes.
And so it can feel more tedious and like, oh my God, are we getting anywhere? Are we doing anything? But man, I flip back a year or 6 months and I'm like, holy cow, like the lightning speed at which we're able to sort of make adjustments and improvements. And it's like, you look at what you've done, rewinding a year to today, and then you extrapolate forward and be like, oh my gosh, we're going to be able to really do something. We just keep up with this steady march. We don't have to sprint. Just keep doing what we're doing. You're going to make that progress. And it keeps you going when it feels like you're stuck in quicksand and
Yes.
you're not moving.
Yes. Great. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in to Coast. That was a fantastic episode about meetings, some helpful practical insight on that. As always, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to this podcast if you're listening to it via podcast, and leave us a review. All those great things. Join our LinkedIn Coast to Coast Pest Talk group and give us your input on the show. We love critical feedback, helpful feedback. Great to hear encouragements as well, but give us your criticisms, and we want to chat and grow together. So thanks so much for listening. Take care.